Do you think dating's a number game or that there's a number game that's
And no, that's how I open
I
up
don't
my
either. Yeah.
because it's again, I mean, like I've had clients say that to me, "Oh, I know it's a numbers game." I'm like, "No, it's not."
Are you going through life blind? This is Eyes Wide Open with Nick Thompson. On this podcast, we share knowledge and stories that build human connection while elevating stigmatized societal issues such as mental health, holistic wellness, culture, free speech, and more. All to ensure we show up in the world with our eyes wide open. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Eyes Wide Open podcast. I'm Nick Thompson, and our guest today is a friend of the show, Anita Chlipala. Anita is a licensed marriage and family therapist, dating and relationship expert, founder of On Love Experiences, hosting singles events, and doing dating coaching. She's also the creator of the Dating Blueprint, which is a research-backed program that helps you learn about yourself and what you should be looking for in a romantic partner. Nita, welcome back to the show. It's been a hot minute. How are you? Well, not since we've talked, but since you've been
You
on
know,
the show. How are you?
yeah, I'm doing well. I'm enjoying, the turn of warm weather in Chicago. So,
Yeah, yeah. And for those that don't know, we're practically neighbors. We live in the same neighborhood, so we're going to go for a walk and soak up some of this 60 plus degree weather
yeah,
that we're having.
was in Hales tomorrow.
Is it going to I actually didn't look. Is it really going to do that tomorrow or are you being
No,
facetious?
I think it's just supposed to be warm and because I think you like the same video on Instagram where it talked about different like all the weather patterns that Chicago got within like a 7-day period. Like we had
Yep.
tornadoes and floods and hail and snow and like 70-degree weather. I'm
Yeah,
like,
that was like 2 weeks ago. It's
yes,
that time of year, though. I feel like in March and I guess we're coming up in April, but like March and April, it's always like just a roller coaster of weather. And you could, like you said, you could get snow one day and a tornado the next, and then be in some sort of heat wave or ice age after that. So,
yeah, for sure. That's what I love about
but
this city.
yeah, but it's worth it for the 3 months of summertime shy that we get, right?
Yes. I
I
hate
will
being
say though, what'd you say?
I said I hate being bored, so the weather
Yeah.
definitely makes things interesting.
This year, for some reason, it went very cold very early. I remember we had snow, like, before Thanksgiving this year,
Mhm.
and it has been cold
Yeah.
longer than normal and started earlier than normal. I think it's obviously, there's no data backing that up, but I'm just like, I don't even wanna be outside anymore. If it's, like, 35, I don't even wanna be outside. I'm,
Yeah.
like, taking the dog out in the morning, like, "Do your business, back inside in 5 minutes." I'm just so over it. I'm so over it.
Are you still getting your, like, 14,000 steps in?
No.
Yeah, me neither.
Not yeah, not recently, and it's 15,000 is my goal, but, I I'm trying to get at least 10, but I just can't do and then when the wind starts and it hurts your face just existing outside,
Yeah, I know.
it's just brutal, just brutal.
Yeah.
So, but that's not what we're here to talk about. We're not here to talk about the weather, which is ironic because I feel like I talk about the weather a lot of times in these podcasts. And one of my like literal reasons for starting this podcast was because I hate small talk.
Yeah.
but, but
Which your blueprint, basically, like, gives you the information or gave me the information that you're one of those people that,
yeah,
really doesn't do it. You prefer the deep conversations.
yeah. Even, it's funny because I think about all of my friends and stuff. And man, I feel like I definitely trap them in conversations sometimes that they don't really want to be in. So,
Why they prefer small talk?
we talk about sports. I like talking about sports and movies and stuff like that too. But I'm also like, hey guys, World War III, who wants to talk about it? And
Yeah.
hey everybody, like, here's some real serious stuff going on in the world or in my relationship or whatever that is. And it's like not
Mhm.
really an appetite for everybody to have that. But that's okay. That's okay. That's why I have this show.
Yeah, but also, like, that because it explains, like, that part of who you are, that you're
Yeah.
not, um like, you don't prefer, like, surface level conversations because like, I have a lot of clients that when they're dating, they worry about going too deep too quickly, and so they feel like they have to stay in surface level, kinda conversation, but then I tell them, I'm like, I really do think that it's affecting your ability to get like other dates, like a second, third date, because a person who would be matched well with you also would prefer to have those kind of deep conversations. Like they're not going to be scared off by that if you talk about deep stuff like World War III on a first date. Because everyone's like, you shouldn't talk about politics, right? And like that doesn't matter.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I think one of the things that is always interesting to me about first dates, which I haven't been on one in a really long time, but I think you should always show up as yourself. And I'm not saying you need to go into like the
Mm,
deep dark secrets, but if
right,
something you talk about a lot is a topic of discussion that you want to talk about. Like for me, I like to talk about politics. I like to laugh about it. I like to debate about it. I like to argue about it. Like I enjoy that.
mm,
If I'm gonna hide that and that's gonna be a problem, why like why even bother? So I think people should show up as themselves. Not saying you have to talk about your deepest, darkest secrets and thoughts and beliefs at that point, but you don't
right.
want to show up and not be interesting, one, and also give a false impression about the things that you care about, want to converse about, or want to do.
Yeah, but you have confidence. Not everybody does.
I
So,
guess.
but if someone doesn't feel like, if they get anxious on a date and if they have anxiety, then they're not going to have that attitude like you do.
Right.
And so that's again like one of the things that I love about working with singles is and kind of offering them this dating blueprint is helping them to like really accept who they are, and that they should be proud of this person and they want kind of like what you just said, they want to be true to themselves so that they're attracting the right fit,
Mm,
instead of someone who is just would be misaligned, if they presented as someone that they're not. But
yeah.
your confidence makes the difference.
Well, I don't think I'm confident. I just think I'm like myself, but I guess that is a bit of a confidence. I always say I'm like unapologetically myself. Like you can take it or leave it. I'm always trying to be better. I'm trying to do the right thing and I can sleep at night because I have integrity. So
Mm.
take it or leave it. I think it'd be good for more people to kind of work towards having that mindset or confidence or however.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
but
but I, oh, go ahead.
as I say, I mean, the fear of rejection can also be a big block to that one.
Yeah. Oh,
So,
for sure. And I have massive fears of rejection too. Like it's just not something that I don't have to worry about right now. And then I get it in other ways though. It's like imposter syndrome. I am the biggest victim of imposter syndrome ever. Like I can do something, I can do something, then it's time to do it. And I'm like, I can't do this. Like, what am I thinking? I think it's probably a similar type of feeling or mindset or coming from a similar place when you're trying to date someone or be on a date or approach someone.
yeah, for sure. But like I think leaning into I mean, it shows that like you're not a narcissist, right? And that you're grounded and I think that's a good thing as long as it's something that you could lean into and not allow it to block you from doing the things that you want.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we
So
all
the
have
last time, yeah, we all have it about something. So the
uh,
last time we chatted on this podcast, we did a couple, I can't even remember, a couple episodes. Was it two or three? I think it was three, wasn't it?
yeah.
Or was it two?
Well, I think the first one we talked so long that we
Yeah,
split it up into 2,
that's right.
and then we did the post, event recap.
And then we hosted a couple singles events. We did the post event recap,
Yep,
which went a little viral and had some controversial commentary and comments going back and forth.
yep.
Um, that also, funnily enough, ended up sort of leaking into our real life conversations at your what was that your holiday? What party was that? That had to be your holiday party, wasn't it?
Uh,
Where it was
for Friendsgiving or
yeah, something like that, yeah, but it was funny because, like, the comments had made their way into our friend group, and we were having some, like, real life debates about the comments of that episode, but, in a nutshell, to catch people up, we hosted a couple singles events together, you still host single events together,
Yep,
you're still doing your private therapy practice,
yes.
hosting events, dating coaching. You've got the dating blueprint, which we'll get to. But before we dive into the specifics of what you've been up to and what you've got going on and everything, you are now amplifying your expertise because you're having these singles events and
Yes.
you're hosting these events. Tell people a little bit about those events, and then let's talk about like what you're seeing out there in the state of the dating universe.
Yeah, I mean, I had even before we met, I had been hosting singles events for like charities and, sometimes alcohol brands. But so this, kind of happened. I mean, I had the story about starting the events was I had a date cancel on me, and then I ended up hosting an event. You saw the advertising at the bar and joined me, and you were so gracious to have me on the podcast for me to help promote it. And so, one, like just doing the work that I do with singles through therapy and coaching, like a lot of my single clients are just burnt out on dating, particularly the dating apps. And so, being able to host singles events has been something that like my clients have really appreciated, or just meeting people like at these events. So many people would just come up to me and just tell me that they're not on the apps anymore. They have no desire to be on the apps, and they want to just meet someone in real life. So I was doing them kind of like monthly, but I am running a group practice as well.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to have a life. So after about 6 months of monthly events, I had to pull back a little bit because I just couldn't keep up with the workload. I mean, I was working like 12, 16-hour days because, going to events, networking events. I mean, trying to recruit people to the events. I mean, I just didn't want anybody showing up, but really trying to let people know about being a dating and relationship therapist, like I prefer people who are actually intentional about dating to come to the events.
What I think is so crazy is when we were doing these events together, I couldn't believe how much work it was. Like, you don't even think about the little things that need to happen in order for an event to come off. I
Yeah.
mean, you think of the one we did at Low Horse, and Bar Cosina, and then we did the one at, Backstory. I couldn't
Mhm.
remember what it was called, which is now called Tavern on North again, or is it even open anymore? I don't even know. But
But
all of these events, there's so much that goes into it. You've got to get the tickets set up. You got to get the website set up. You got to get the conversation cards. You got to find the event. You got to scout out the event. You got to plan how many people you can fit in there. You've got to promote that. And you were out there going to bars like recruiting guys on a Friday and Saturday night to come to these events. So I think like it's a lot of work, but one of the things that was so satisfying about it is like seeing people actually meet in real life or being able to broker an introduction. So what are some of the things that you've been able to do at these events to bring people together and help them either start dating or even introduce themselves to someone?
yeah, I mean, well, one of the things that hands down every event has had very nervous and anxious singles. And so, if there's anyone who is hesitant to come to an event or is thinking about canceling last minute, I always tell people you're not going to be the only one. Like, I have had to talk people off the ledge, so to speak, messaging them on Instagram and saying, please come and find me. It's interesting because I'm going to be doing an event at Lone Owl in Wicker Park. I'm going to have two back-to-back events there. But I was talking to the manager, and there was another uh, like event that had a singles event at Lone Owl. He goes, they always had someone different every time. Like I never knew who was in charge.
Mm.
It just didn't seem to be run. I'm like, I'll be here every single time. Like that's one of the things that because of my background as a therapist, like I'm there. I offer, as long as it works with the bar, 30 minutes of free coaching where people can pop in if they need that time to talk to me to feel more comfortable. That's what I'm there for if they have any questions. But like a lot of people that I shouldn't say a lot, but like some people who come, the singles that come, like, being nervous is normal or having some anxiety and not knowing what to expect. And kind of like what you said about you don't do small talk. Well, some of my, like I've talked to some of
I
my.
did a lot of small talk at these events when I was coming to them, I will say that.
Well, yeah. I mean, but I sometimes thought like find the person who might be, standing by themselves, or, just go up to people. Like, the one thing that I do have a lot of pride on with these events is that the feedback I get is people would say like how nice everybody is. Like everybody's just so nice. And so, like, no, I haven't gotten, any stories about people being rude. And I mean, we're, kind of like all in the same boat, trying to meet someone or just having a nice time, hoping for a connection, maybe even making some friends. But just going up to someone and, asking like, oh, how'd you hear about this event? Or do you know Anita? Or, what are you looking for? How's dating been? Are you on the apps? I mean, there's, a lot of questions that you could even
Or the
ask.
conversation starters. I know you're still using those, right?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
revamped some of them. Had to freshen some up because I think people have been stealing them. So, got a fresh batch of some, conversation starters to also help, so I saw people using that. And then just, just talking to people and making them feel comfortable. So, like, I mean, I'm working the room nonstop. Like,
Oh,
if
yeah.
my friends come, I'm like, I'm not gonna talk to you because I wanna meet people as they come through the door, welcome them, and then I'm always like, if you think someone's, attractive and you want an introduction, that's what I'm there for.
Yeah. Which I think is good because if you've ever been to like a speed dating event or anything like that, it is very, like, it's so transactional. It doesn't have that, it obviously doesn't have, like, in most cases, a experienced therapist whose expertise is in dating and relationships there. But
Right.
also, what I think was always cool about it is good people, and part of it's vetting, right? And
Mhm.
I know from working with you at times, there were times people had to, like, leave, like, we
Yeah.
had to ask them to leave or whatever. So, I think it's like a good group of people that everybody's in it for the, maybe not the right reasons. Everyone's there for the same reason,
Yeah.
and it kind of, as we've talked about before, it eliminates that, "Oh, is her boyfriend gonna come out and beat the crap out of me? Is she gonna," everybody's there to be single and meet people, and I think that, like, eliminates, and plus you do the name tags, like, it eliminates some of the immediate, like, barriers to entry almost, which I think is good.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't have like, I know we talked about that on the podcast, but that was like a fear, or yes, especially my male clients worried about being a creeper, right? And
Mhm.
well, everyone here is hoping to get hit on.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
just having like realistic expectations, right? Like, you don't know, if someone's going to find you attractive. But like I tell my clients, I go, there's a lot of research that shows that, attraction can grow. And that's happened even anecdotally, where, my clients will say, I don't know, there may be. And so I really encourage them, like, continue talking to someone, and there might be something you find out that they've got the sense of humor that, you really enjoy, or there might be a story that they share where they can really grow in attraction to you. So that's why, like, even meeting someone in person, the likelihood of giving someone a chance also, I think is better than just swiping, really quickly on
Mm.
an app.
Well, I think everyone's a bit of an acquired taste too, or at least the people that have personality, right? There's some people that maybe are just attractive and ride that wave, but really, like, if you have, any kind of personality and individualism or anything like that, like, you're going to be an acquired taste, and someone's going to need to get to know you to really understand that and learn that the nuances of each individual person.
Yeah, and like, I've had, speaking of speed dating, because I did 3 speed dating events over the summer, and like, I met several people, like several singles at those events that were like, I'll go out with anybody again. Like, they're that open to even just getting to know or, like, develop friendships, or seeing, like, no one was a hell no, and so they said, I'd, be willing to get together just to get to know them
Yeah.
and see if something develops, which I thought
And
was refreshing.
yeah, and I think that's a testament to the good people that are coming, right?
Yeah.
Like,
And I don't
they're open to it.
I was gonna joke, like, I don't just go to the bars on Friday and Saturday. I go to some,
I know.
professional networking events too.
Well, I wasn't gonna list that you were out every single day recruiting people for these events. I didn't wanna put you on blast like that.
I do have my favorites. I mean, we
Um,
had some, professionals, come in. I mean, I will literally just hit up I wouldn't say, like, anybody, but also, I mean, I have, my network of therapists, right? So, I'm
yeah.
on a Chicago therapist listserv, I'm in Facebook groups, and so I always let the therapist know, "If you have emotionally available clients within this age range, please let them know because I have this event coming up." And so,
Right.
we're not just looking for anybody, right?
Right, and I know my therapist sends people to your events,
Yes,
so
I
that
appreciate
is and that by the way, well, that wasn't if you remember, that wasn't even, like, by design. She saw it on a Facebook group that she's
that.
in and was like, "Oh," because when I told her I was gonna co-host, she's like, "Oh, I've been telling my clients about this that are single about this event because she saw it in Facebook or s." So it is very, it's good, and it's like people who are obviously in therapy a lot of times and have that awareness and that willingness to want to meet someone and like put the work in and all of that stuff.
Yeah, and it's frustrating because it's, if you're I mean, there's so many good people who are single and you wonder like, well, because they start wondering what's wrong with me,
Yeah.
Like, and that's where some of the doubts come in, like, what am I doing wrong? Or am I attracting the wrong fit? Am I looking for the wrong things? And, to be able to help them, sorry, my earpod fell out.
That's okay.
Um, but like, so therapists helping them to help them, figure out. And, sometimes I have to tell my clients, I go, look, there is nothing wrong with you. Like, I know you might think that, but you may just have to continue to date, or there might be like a few tweaks that we have to do. But like, just because someone goes and sees a therapist, sometimes I think that there's this belief that there's something like so wrong or they're,
Mm,
unstable. And
yeah.
it's I kind of work with the worried well, where in general, like, they don't have severe mental illnesses. It's just they're struggling in their romantic relationships or they're struggling in dating.
I mean, who isn't right now? And that makes me want to ask, like, what are the top, let's say, two, three trends you're seeing in dating right now? Because I feel like I'm not dating, and I hadn't. I mean, I have a girlfriend. I'm not
Mhm.
actively dating people,
Right.
and I haven't since before Love Is Blind, which is 2021. So I wasn't. I can't even imagine. It's definitely not any better. I can't even imagine how bad it is out there right now. But what are some of the good things, and bad things that you're seeing out there in dating as sort of these trends and people trying to, plus we have this loneliness epidemic and it's wild out there. So what are you seeing, I guess?
Well, kind of on the, I would say like bad side, but I think people are giving up. Like, people just the thought of dating, like they really have to work themselves up, you know, to do it, where they're just so disheartened. So I've been seeing that even like with some of my friends. They're like, I don't know if I'm ready. I mean, even for myself, I mean, I've taken myself out of the dating pool for a while. I mean, part of it is how busy I was last year trying to get this startup off the ground. But, I even have moments where I'm like, I don't even know if it's worth it.
Yeah.
And so it's a real thing. Like when it's like when the next, you get hopeful and you think you have a great date and then you get ghosted and you're like, what's going on here, right? It could
Yeah.
just be so disheartening, and when people don't think it's worth it anymore. But I do, but kind of like going back to the events, like when I talk to people, then, there are the ones that are, I'm just trying something different, or this is the first time I'm here, or my friend encouraged me to come. So like the word of mouth is, starting to spread a little bit more. Um, and I mean, ultimately, people still want a relationship. I just wish,
Mhm.
it would be easier for people to meet that. And I still see some of the stuff that we talked about in the first, podcast where people are so dismissive, or one of the reasons why, I mean, I've been using the dating blueprint with my therapy clients. I think since like 2011, is people don't know what to look for. And
Yeah.
so when you don't know what to look for, then you're going to, like, you could literally meet 10 people, maybe 2 or 3 would be a good fit. But if you don't know what to look for, you're going to dismiss them because you're going to continue to date. Or, you're going to keep thinking that there's this like perfect person out there and that person doesn't exist.
Yeah. When I was researching a little bit for this show, I don't know if you've seen this. I think it was Forbes. Forbes did a study on the state of dating in 2025 and 2026, and it
Hmm.
was something like 78% of people are burned out on dating.
Hmm.
78% of singles
Yeah.
are burnt out on dating. App fatigue, the ghosting,
Yeah.
all of this stuff. And I think actually, let me ask you this. Do you think dating's a number game or that there's a number game that's
And no, that's how I open
I
up
don't
my
either. Yeah.
because it's again, I mean, like I've had clients say that to me, "Oh, I know it's a numbers game." I'm like, "No, it's not." Because I've worked with so many singles where they date based on a feeling or like I even had my Halloween event was at Chop House and
Mhm.
I remember asking a guy, so one of the attendees, I'm like, "So, well, how's dating for you? Like, why do you think you're single?" He's like, "Oh, I've got so many deal breakers. Like, I've got a laundry list of deal breakers." And I'm like, "There's no way he's ever going to meet a woman who, like, is going to fit every like, maybe one of his deal breakers, and I'm sure he's probably got other things that, he would want.
Oh, yeah.
This guy's gonna be single forever." Like, he could meet so many people, but it's less about the like, I mean, yes, you do have to meet people, but, like, I've had, um, clients that come to me, I wanna find someone, we figure out who's a good fit, and maybe they meet 3 to 4 people or, like, they assess better, and then they're in a relationship. Like, they're not looking to be dating around. But I think when you don't know what you want, then you're victim to your feelings and your feelings are going to like fluctuate.
Yeah.
And people like, for example, that I can't stand when people think like, you should know right away. And I'm like, we need to normalize having doubts when you first start dating
Mhm.
someone. So then you can pace and you get to know them better and you give them an opportunity to see if they are a good fit.
And again, this is dated dating experience, but I always felt like the biggest problem with dating was people weren't giving each other a chance to get to know one another. And I think to your point, what this did with dating apps is it made people a swipe away that you would in mass amounts of people that you would never have the opportunity to meet
Right.
or explore, and it always gives you this opportunity or this mindset that it's like next person up, right? Like,
Yep.
"Oh, this person said one thing that I didn't think was funny," or "This person, was, too long to respond," and that's a red flag. Like, you got
Right.
the red flags throwing out there, people throwing everything out there. This person that you talked to at the Chop House who had this long list of non-negotiable deal breakers, all of that stuff. And I think at the core, you're right. People don't know what they want, but I also think they get like so flooded with so many experiences that it starts jading them to actually identify what they need or what they want in a relationship. Do you think that's a fair assessment or?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, I think something that my clients struggle with is trusting themselves, and then
Mm,
because you have so many options now. It's like I had a client last night, she asked me, "How am I supposed to know, if I'm nitpicking or, if I'm settling, or if this is something that is important?" And I'm like, "Excellent, let's talk about it," right?
yeah.
But that's the thing is, I that's where I also, like, try to teach my clients about the attitude because you're never gonna be aligned with anyone that if you like, it's so easy to dismiss someone, like, I mean, now the ick is a thing, "Oh, I don't like the way that they chew," or "I don't like,
Yeah.
this." Um, but, like, you're never going to make a marriage work if that's your attitude, because you ask any married couple, and because I work with couples, I know this, I mean, they aggravate each other, they get on each other's nerves, like, one of my clients this morning, she goes, "Anita, I just sometimes he just gives me the ick when he does this. And I'm like, yeah, that's marriage. But are
Yeah.
you going to stew in that and continue to develop the negativity? Or are you going to deal with it? Like some of this might be a conversation. Does he even know that what he does turns you off? And knowing
Yeah.
my client, of course, she doesn't talk to him about that. But I just see so much can be prevented, or I don't know. I just don't think people date realistically, to be
I
honest.
don't either. I just had a friend, Ellie Weinstein, who
Mhm.
has a book that just came out called From I Do to We Do, and the focus of the book is how to stay, like, in your relationship and make that strong
Yeah.
once you have kids. And one of the things that he talked about that I thought was interesting, and that shows live now as of yesterday,
Okay.
one of the things he said was, "You gotta have, like, the roommate conversation before you move in with someone."
Hmm.
And that roommate conversation is like, like what we were talking about earlier, like, do you clean? Do you do your dishes? Do the dishes stay overnight or do they get washed after you're done eating? Do
Right.
you have specific like for me, I know I hate when laundry is thrown at the hamper when an extra little tiny ounce of energy would have gotten it right in the hamper.
Yep.
And then it's left there. Like, I hate that. I also hate dirty dishes being left out overnight. I hate, cabinets being left over frustrates me, like,
It's so
or left open. Yeah, stuff like that.
yeah. You know, yeah, because that's the thing is the dating apps or the way that I generally see singles date is based on common interests, where research shows that that really has no bearing on whether or not a relationship can work. I mean, obviously, it could give you quality time, because you're doing the same activity or hobby. Um, but it's so funny because, so like, I'm in my living room right now, but I have an open concept. I You've seen my place,
Yeah.
and I I left the kitchen cabinet open, but it's one of those things where, like one of my clients was complaining that like she's constantly like closing kitchen cabinets because her husband just leaves them open. And it wasn't until she said that that I realized that I sometimes do that. I'm like, oh man, I gotta really, be able to start like closing these. But I sat down, for and then I'm like, oh man, I didn't close the kitchen cabinet. But that's the thing
But you
is,
don't have to. You live by yourself.
true, but I'm trying to too, like, I mean, I say this to my, single clients because the day-to-day living matters way more than like having similar
Yeah.
interests. It
You can go to a ball game with anyone and have a good
right.
time,
Yeah.
right?
You don't even need your, partner if they're not into it. Go with your friend, but like there's always something that you could find or spend some kind of quality time, right? To keep the
Yeah.
relationship going and positive. But it's like those things that like are irritating. Because cleanliness, I mean, being aligned, and again, it might not be exactly, but like being in alignment with cleanliness, I would say would be one of the top things that my couples fight about because at least in heterosexual relationships, women have more of the mental load, and women, they're kind of sick of it. They don't want to continue to be carrying on those kind of like traditional roles and marriages and relationships anymore. And that was a point of contention with one of my clients. So, because she doesn't know if she should be getting engaged to her boyfriend. And I said, well, let's, go over your blueprint, or she did it, even though she's technically not single, but it applies to those relationships too. And we talked about it. I said, you have more of the mental load because she made a comment, Anita, I don't even think he's, in the last 2 years we've been living together, I don't even think he's vacuumed once. I'm like, this is a conversation. I mean, to, what you said, the roommate conversation. I'm like, this is a conversation to be had.
Yeah.
Because it's not just about the vacuum, but you're definitely doing more of the cleaning. And I know she wants kids. And so that's not going to stop just at the cleaning.
Oh,
She's,
it's gonna amplify with every kid.
yeah, but
And then it
but that's the thing is he wants to do like what I think a lot of people do is, oh, we'll talk about it later. It's like
You're
the
absolutely right.
kicking the can down the road. And that's where a lot of my couples have gotten into trouble because I'll flat out ask them, like when they come in with problems, well, tell me what these conversations were like when you were dating, or when you became exclusive or before engagement. Oh, we didn't. We just figured we'd figure it out later. And so I think that's like a unique perspective that I have where I have all of these examples of couples that have made it work. And I've had examples where some couples probably shouldn't have gotten married. And I have examples where I've asked couples, can you postpone the wedding because you've got a lot of, problems. And trying to teach singles, in my mind, is the best way to prevent divorce. I know it doesn't sound sexy, but I
But
just,
it's reality. It's like that's real life. And that's what I think is so. And by the way, like someone who literally lived out a romantic comedy in
yeah,
real life on Love is Blind, like you you can have that romanticized version of your relationship, but at the end of the day, to your point, it is going to be what happens day to day. It's going to be what happens when someone's having a really good day and someone's having a really bad day, and how do they cope with those?
mhm,
And it's going to be how do we maintain our household? What are the things that are important? And so, like Carrie and I talked a couple weeks ago about like what it would look like to move in together. And I own my place. She rents. I live here 6 years now, almost 7 years now.
yeah,
And one of the things I told her, I'm like, what we need to do is like some sort of integration plan because this is lived in
yeah,
6 years by me. Right. And even before, like, that was a problem after Love is Blind is like, I didn't know that I needed to have some sort of integration plan. Like, but you have to because someone's moving into someone else's house, which would be the case here, you've gotta
yeah,
have an understanding of how those things are gonna work, that roommate conversation, but also in other areas of your relationship, right? Like, I remember I can't remember I remember, then I can't remember. I can't rem it was before Love is Blind. I think it was in therapy, but it took me a while to figure it out, but, like, I figured out, I'm like, there's 3 things that are non-negotiables for me in a relationship.
mhm,
1, there has to be trust, baseline trust, and not just trust that, like, you're gonna be faithful and all that. I think that's a given if you're in a monogamous relationship, but it's, like, trust that, like, we're doing this together. Trust that, like, we're partners in this. Trust that, like, when I have a bad day, I don't, I can have a bad day around you. I can be myself around you and express regular emotions around you, stuff like that. And then stability is a second one, which is like, I want to know again, the relationship's going to be there and
mhm,
that when things get tough or a conflict comes up, that it isn't going to be, that's it, that's the end, because that's how so many relationships are now. It's like one thing, one ick, one red flag. And it might not even really be a red flag, or it might be you who should look inside and why that's giving you the ick or whatever that is. And then the other one is quality time, which is one of my love languages.
mhm,
And that's because I want to know that I can spend like real time with this person and be, whether that's the sporting game or the activity, or
mhm,
sometimes it's just sitting on the couch in silence. And I think Carrie would tell you, especially after work some days, I'm like, we can hang out. Don't talk to me. Like you just
right.
got to sit there.
Yeah, but that's
Because I'm
something.
I'm an introvert living in an extrovert's world with an extrovert, job and work that I do, and it's hard sometimes at the end of a long day to converse. But like people don't have those conversations, and then conflict arises because of simple things that people don't know about themselves or know about their partner because they're not communicating or they haven't done the inward look, which is where I think the blueprint comes in. But go ahead, you were going to say
Yeah.
something.
Well, I mean, but I remember you saying, I think even when the first podcast, that you were an introvert, because I was like, oh, did you go out afterwards? And you're like, are you kidding? Like, you were like on the couch or you were kind of recovering or whatever.
I'm
Um,
catatonic after
but
a podcast.
yeah, but it's funny that you say that, because one of the clients that I was working, or that I saw this morning, so she came to me because she doesn't know if she should leave her marriage.
Ugh,
And so today she shared an example where, like, I think her husband was having some alone time. I don't like think they have a basement or something. And she was like, oh, he didn't want me to be there. And so she felt rejected. And then she goes, well, then I just don't try to have time with him for like 2 weeks. I go,
yep.
so you're punishing the marriage because of an expectation that you had with him that you did not voice. I go, does he know that you expect to have quality time with him? Like, how does he know that you're not just going to ask him something, or ask him to help you with something when he just wants to relax? There was like no conversation around it. There was so much negativity, that didn't have to be there if she had just clarified. Because I asked her, I go, is he not allowed to, one, either have a bad mood, or is he not allowed to be able to decompress? And it's not about you, but it's about him, needing
Mhm.
to recharge. And so, homework assignment, I'm like, you need to talk to your husband, like when he's down in the basement, like, because what does he need? Is it, or like, does he even know that you're wanting to spend quality time with him? Because he might be thinking
Yeah.
you don't. And so what is he going to do? He's not just going to, like, he's going to do what recharges him.
Yeah.
So, like, that's the thing is I don't know. It was just like unnecessary negativity in my mind, you know?
I totally agree with you, and I think that's something I've been guilty of too, is, like, if I have a bad day, if I'm depressed, if I'm anxious, if I'm burnt out, my natural instinct, and this I know where it comes from growing up and all that, is to withdraw.
Hmm.
So, like, it's been a task for me to even be able to communicate in a relationship, like, "I'm having a tough day." Because a lot of times too, men, you repress your emotions, you can't express them. And
Hmm.
sometimes repression of the emotion leads to obviously irritability or
Hmm.
withdrawing. And so in that situation, she could even potentially find out that maybe he's struggling with something. And that if she gives him a little bit of space to communicate that, where he's used to, keeping it inside, then maybe that could even make the relationship stronger. And then that could even be quality time because you're getting closer and understanding each other better. It's like, it's almost like a self fulfilling negative prophecy she's giving herself there.
Yeah. Or like, if you, or like a partner could maybe take something off of your plate, right? Like, oh, well, they're really overwhelmed today, or had a really bad day, I'm going to leave them alone. And then I could help and do something. Or, I know we were talking about the love languages before, but like, if someone either acts of service, let's say, or gifts. You could turn those into like maybe a tangible gift to make
Mhm.
someone feel better. Like there's an opportunity for connection, versus conflict.
Totally agree. Oh, I hope that works out, or at least they figure out something, because I could just like see so many scenarios happening there that don't need to happen, or maybe
Yeah.
do need to happen, but like you're,
Yeah. I mean, I really am thankful for my client because it's really funny because like every session I just point out her accountability and we both laugh about it. But like to me, I mean, it is serious because, they have kids, like she could be getting an unnecessary divorce. And so, being able to point out some of these things and
Mhm.
where I would say, like I really like, even for singles, because I know I did, like, a reel on ghosting around Halloween where, uh, ghosting is such an easy way out. I mean, obviously, if, like, someone was abusive or, completely disrespectful or you were scared, obviously, I would support those
Yeah.
instances. But as a single person, the being able to practice dealing with discomfort is a top notch skill that I would highly recommend singles do. And so when you have no skin in the game, like you go on a first date or even a second date, whatever, I mean, even like a few weeks, you still don't even know this person well enough. And to be able to deal with the discomfort and say, hey, I really enjoyed, our time together, but I'm not, I don't see long term. Like, because if people think that they're never going to hurt their spouse's feelings, like that's not going to happen.
Oh,
Like
it's
that is
unrealistic.
inevitable. You ask any married person, like, and again, it's not necessarily out of, malice. It's not like you're trying to necessarily intentionally hurt each other, but sometimes, like, if you tell your partner the truth or like, I don't want to go to that event and their feelings are going to be hurt. That's something that you as a partner or future partner have to be able to deal with in order to have a successful relationship. And so singles have such a great opportunity to be practicing that. Or even having these maybe uncomfortable conversations to be like, hey, where are we aligned? And is this going to work so that you're not wasting your time on the wrong fit?
Yeah, leaning into the discomfort, it's like the if it ain't hard, it's not worth doing kind of thing, right? So I think, and I just keep thinking because every time, so all of like Carrie's close friends are in the suburbs, and I'm always like, I don't want to go to the suburbs on the
Right.
weekends. Like very clear. Hey, my friends are having a blah blah blah. Where? It's out in West Chicago. I don't want to go to the suburbs.
Yeah. Sometimes you gotta take one for the team, Nick.
I know. I do sometimes.
But yeah,
Um,
another thing is just for like if people who have trauma in their background, because sometimes like yes, I do believe that relationships do take work and sometimes they are hard. But sometimes I think people with trauma in their background, like if dating someone is easy, they dismiss them, because they don't
mm,
their like attachment system isn't getting activated. And so like I mean, I don't know. I try to help my singles finding someone who's naturally compatible just to make the long-term relationship easier. But again, it's not without there's not like a cookie cutter answer here, but it doesn't always have to be hard. Like you shouldn't be chasing someone for affection and
mm,
attention, but figuring out things like, hey, like a common one too is when people like wake up versus like when they go to bed. Like some of my individual clients who have been in relationships have struggled with like, they wake up at maybe like 8:30 in the morning and they're with someone who wakes up at like 5:30 to work out, and that could be a problem. Like they're constantly
totally.
waking me up and I have a hard time going back to sleep. But those are the things that matter a lot more than your love of tacos and marks. You know what I mean?
Well, you know it's yeah. It's funny you say that because again, the podcast with Ellie Weinstein, he was saying one of the things that him and his wife ended up having to do was get two separate beds
Yeah.
in the same room that they can push together, but two separate beds because he tosses and turns all night,
Yeah.
and it would wake her up all night. And so, like even little things that you can do to fix the compatibility on stuff or make it work is
Yeah.
very you just gotta put the effort in and have the understanding. That's where I think people don't even always have the understanding of what they're doing, what they need, and then what their partner's doing, what their partner needs.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times, so many of my single clients would just dismiss someone without having a conversation. And
Yeah.
like, for example, with my couples, like going back to the like let's say cleanliness and chores, I'm like, do you guys want to get a divorce or is it worth it to get a cleaning service to come into your home?
Take
Meet
it off of
and
both of your
weekly.
plates, yep.
Yeah. Or I don't know if Matthew Walker, he's like the sleep expert. I don't know if he coined this, but I definitely heard him say it on a podcast called the sleep divorce. So I've had to have those conversations with my couples too. It's like guys are because like if you don't get enough sleep, I mean, your anxiety can be so much worse. And obviously, like you could be more irritable. It's not
Yep.
worth it to be dumping all of that negativity into a marriage. So or a relationship. So get a sleep divorce. You could sleep in separate rooms, but just find the two rituals when you part for the night and then when you come back together during the in the morning is like, what do you want that to look like if it's feasible, depending on, kids, work, work,
Yeah.
whatever. But it's like, that's one of the things that like it's not a numbers game, but are you with someone who's willing to put in the work or
Yeah.
compromise or brainstorm with you solutions instead of just, I don't like this one thing, I'm giving up next, because you're never going to find someone who is perfectly
No.
aligned with you in all aspects. It's never going to happen.
No, it's impossible, and that's why I think it's okay to have deal breakers, but, like, the person you were mentioning earlier who had all these deal breakers and stuff, you've gotta be realistic about that, and, I don't think I would ever end a relationship because someone can't put the little extra effort in to get it into the hamper, but, like, it's one of those things that it's like, it annoys me,
Right.
and by the way, it would annoy me if I saw something like that at your house or anyone's house. I'm like, "Come on, just
Right.
a little extra
Right.
oomph,"
Right.
or pick it up and put it in there.
Yeah.
Like like that stuff, but, recognizing that that is a me thing, right? And it's not that big of a deal worth ending a relationship
Right.
with or being a deal breaker. And I think sometimes people look at these little things that give them the ick or they don't like it, and
Mhm.
it becomes a deal breaker when in reality, like, if it isn't that, it's gonna be some other stupid little thing, and you've just gotta figure out, like, what you can and can't really tolerate and what you're
Right.
really gonna let bother you and be a deal breaker in a relationship or in a marriage.
Yeah, that's the thing is, like, what a lot of time people are like, well, am I being too nitpicky? Or they don't know what they maybe should be fighting for, right? So there's that, like, is it that big of a deal or is this something I should let go? Um, but, I think you wanna look at how much resentment you have. So, because my client
Totally.
yesterday, I mean, she already started having resentment, which is a warning sign. I'm like, "You really wanna deal with this or, talk to your boyfriend about this before, you possibly get engaged because your resentment is not gonna go away just because you get
No,
engaged."
it builds.
Mhm.
Yeah, it builds. This is what I think is really good. So to bring it to your dating blueprint, which you've you built this dating blueprint over, I think you said 2000, since 2011. And now what you've done is you've like basically taken all of your knowledge, all of your research, several research backed assessments, and you've put together this program that builds a dating blueprint for anyone that really wants it. And I'm not gonna speak for you, but I went through the process while you were building it out and sort of turning it into this, like, available product as opposed to something you just used in your therapy office, and, maybe someday we'll go through mine on here, and that would be interesting, but, tell me and others, like, what inspired you to do the dating blueprint, and what goes into it from both the client side and your side, your experience and expertise?
Yeah, I mean, because I started out as a couples therapist. I knew I wanted to work with couples, but I mean, kind of like I mentioned, I mean, I remember even some premarital couples where I'm like, can you postpone the wedding? And they said no, because like the invitations have been sent out or people bought their plane tickets, their hotels. When I was like, you're probably not really that well
Yeah.
aligned here, or give me some time to help you, figure this stuff out. Um, or couples, when I asked them, why'd you get married? Well, we figured it was the next step.
Mm,
To just, couples coming in too late. And I just didn't feel like I could impact, like maybe romantic relationships as much as I wanted to. And, I've been single. So like, I was out there, I mean, still out there in the weeds, but,
well,
yeah,
you said you're not in the weeds anymore. You're
yeah,
now looking at it as like, yeah,
yeah. I mean, I'm kind of getting back to, getting ready to date again. But the, like, being a couples therapist who's also single and has lived through the dating apps, and being able to teach singles information to date better was like how this kind of started because it's
yeah.
just like the education that I was teaching singles of what to look for, how to assess for dates better, like not wasting time, helping them like with any kind of fears of settling. And with the dating apps, because again, kind of like, we've talked about so many times, when you have so many options, I mean, the paradox of choice is a legit
Oh
thing
yeah.
where, people who have, maybe 2 to 3 options versus, 2,000. I mean, how are you supposed to pick? And so, um, doing the dating blueprint with my singles to, like, help them, like, this is who would be a good fit for you, and then now go out and date, and then they would come in, talk about their dates, and then we would talk about whether or not they were a good fit. So, like, I use the therapy sessions to, like, really hone in, like, the application part of the blueprint. And it's like, I mean, most people date more than one person at the same time, I would say, or at least some people do. And, a lot of times my clients would be like, well, Anita, why can't I just put what they have and what they have together? And so if you keep comparing, which
Yeah.
is again understandable, but you could feel stuck, right? Like, how are you supposed to pick? But the
Well,
blueprint,
they say comparison's the thief of joy for a reason.
right? Yeah, and but it just without knowledge, how are you supposed to make an educated, decision? And the blueprint just gives a lot of clarity. And that one thing that does drive me absolutely crazy is just like how much emphasis we place on feelings. So what you've been with Carrie for what, almost a year and a half?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do
Been
you
about that long.
do you still have the crazy infatuation and the limerence that when you first met her?
Yeah, I mean, in a sense, I would say it's changed and it's evolved a little bit, but there's
Hmm.
times where, it's like now it's like little like personality nuances or something like that that I think are kind of light me up. Like I feel like I know her so much better. Where
Mhm.
initially, as it is with a lot of stuff, it was like it was really fun to have someone to go watch Bears games with. It was nice to have, someone to go eat breakfast with, or go to brunch with, or watch a movie with. And I hadn't had that in a while when I met her. But now it's very much so like she's someone that I have become much more comfortable, not perfect, but like just existing with.
Mhm.
And I admire that about her because I don't know that I've ever really had that in this way where
Yeah.
it's like I can say like, sure, we can watch a movie, but I don't want to talk. Like
Right.
I'm tired, I'm burnt out. I've worked all day, I've done a podcast after work, whatever that is, like, and I just can't. And so like I feel like yeah, but then there's just little things about her, the things she does or what she says or little nuances of how she does things that I think are like, "Oh, that's so Carrie. That's cute." Like that
Yeah.
kinda thing.
Yeah.
So it's like different, but it's still there. It's almost like it's matured, I would say.
Yeah, but do you feel like it's, I don't know, maybe like deeper or more stable? Because to me, when I think about like the beginning stages of dating someone, like, I talk with my clients, it's one of those, you don't care if you're up talking until 3 o'clock in the morning, knowing you have to get up at 6 o'clock, right? Because
Well,
it's
that was the first time we hung out, was very much we stayed up until like 7 in the morning, I think.
right. Yeah, but then
Yeah,
that's part of infatuation. But I still have to tell my singles, like, it fades for anybody. Like,
yeah,
I think researchers have been able to like find that maybe like the longest it's ever been anywhere on the planet has been like 4 years, but on average, it could really be, I say about like 12 to 18 months. So you're still kind of in that time frame where you might still get like obviously like super excited, but infatuation I think is one of the best feelings in the world, and but it fades for everybody. And so when
yeah.
people are looking for a spark, look, I get you want to be excited, but the immediacy of, you expect it on a first date. But the thing, that spark is going to fade anyway. So why are you like, I just see so many singles dating based on this immediate spark that's going to fade no matter who you're with. And you're much more likely to at least maintain some of that passion if you're with someone who also believes like you have to work at it because, if you want to feel infatuation, you're going to have to break up with someone probably every 2 years. And then
Yeah, or sooner, 6 months. Yeah.
exactly, I mean, for avoidance, it probably, for people who are avoidantly attached, the spark dissipates, or the infatuation usually dissipates between 4 to 8 weeks, because they
And I
figure
think, like,
it out.
yeah, and I think with the spark too, like, what's a spark? Like,
Right.
like,
Yeah.
I get it, but, like, if you think about it, like, that should naturally evolve. One of the things that my therapist has always pushed me on, especially when I was dating or in relationships, she's like, "You need at the end of the day," like, to me, what you need at the end of the day and what she thinks most people need is, like, you need someone you can sit on the couch with, watch a movie, watch a TV show, and just coexist.
Mhm.
And that's to me, like, I've always had that in my head because I get the fiery starts. Like,
Mhm.
I used to chase that. Like, I
Mhm.
would chase that first few months of a relationship where it's just or the not knowing, like,
Right.
I don't, is this or isn't it? And then there was one person that I dated, probably almost like 8, 9 years ago, and it just like I super spark, went on vacation, like in a few weeks of knowing each other. It was just like fire. And then it just ended, but I actually started to like it. And then I'm like, wow, I was really addicted almost to the
Mhm.
chaos of that
Yeah.
beginning. And so and so it was very much like a wake up call for me that like, wow, like that was actually pretty, it was exciting, but it was pretty bad and not sustainable. And I think even if you have that spark that goes 12 to 18 months or whatever you said earlier, like it's not healthy to have that all the time either. Like and I think one of the things with Carrie and I, even at the beginning, we were like very intentional in the things we were doing,
Mhm.
spending time together,
Uh-huh.
talk about, like, I remember our first Valentine's Day last year, and it was like, oh, she's like, I kind of would rather just like stay at home and make something together.
Uh-huh.
And that was our first Valentine's Day. And I kind of would rather do that too.
Yeah.
So it was like, but like without having that communication, probably would have planned something lavish, exchanged some nice and expensive gifts, and neither of us would have actually been doing like what we wanted.
Right.
So like those are the things to me, like that to me is also a spark. Like it isn't the hot and heavy first few months, but like having these little things or these little rituals that you do,
Right.
that's what I think can keep a spark. It might change, it might not look the same as it did at the beginning,
Right.
but you still have that, like, excitement together. It's just, around different things. It's like you don't need the stuff.
Yeah, I mean, but that's again, that's the effort that you're putting in, right? Or that also like vulnerability that you both are sharing what's important to you and you're honoring, I mean, it sounds like you're aligned in that, which is great because, if you let's say you did want to go to like the fanciest restaurant, right? And she wanted to stay at home. I mean, you think Valentine's Day would be a fun event for you guys every year? So there's
It's
sounds like
yeah.
natural alignment there. But the thing is, the other thing that you know that about you that finding or that Curie is the type of person who is okay with that, or she also appreciates it. Um, I do think like being matched in energy level is really important because for someone who maybe like, again, not saying they go out to the bar every night, but they have something on the calendar. Like I have clients who they plan, I have to beg them to be at home.
Like, sit with your thoughts for
Yeah.
one night.
Can you? I did. One time I asked one of my clients for a weekend and she's like, no. And I'm like, can you give me a Thursday? Just give me no electronics though. I mean, because I was trying to build her tolerance to like feeling alone. It was
Yeah.
really funny. She's like totally shut down the whole weekend. And I was like, fine. Um, but they are like very active that it wouldn't work for you, or there'd be again, unnecessary, not even unnecessary fights, but like, why don't you want to go? You don't care about me because you're not going. Well, you're not respecting me because I'm just like so tired. And then it
Yeah.
turn into a fight. But again, it's about finding those things that are really important to you, or knowing those things that are really important to you, and then finding someone who has some of that natural alignment can make a relationship better. But no matter who you're with, they're going to have to put in effort.
Yeah, and that's what I think is so good about the blueprint, because you did mine.
Mhm.
I was like, "This is pretty spot on." I was like, "There's some issues here that have popped up in the relationship," and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then I was like, "Am I just doing some of this with recency bias?" But what I what I want to ask you now is like, what is the process? Obviously you have some proprietary stuff in there, but like, what could people expect from you process wise if they decide that they want to get their dating blueprint?
Yeah, because so when you buy the blueprint, then I will send the assessments to you, and then it's a pretty detailed explanation of the instructions, and then you send me results back. I put it into the blueprint, or I create the blueprint for you, send it back, and then I have handouts and I have video explanations of your results. And then if clients want additional coaching to talk about the blueprint, or they feel like they have questions, then they could buy a coaching session. And then ideally, I know because it's not that I've always wanted to be a matchmaker, but when I see some of these singles events, I'm like, is there a way that I could help singles like with the natural kind of compatibility? And so if I get, I would say enough people to buy the blueprint, ideally, this might be a pipe dream, but I would love to do group matchmaking where, I look at the blueprint results and then, put like 20 people in a room or something like that and be like, I think you guys have some natural compatibility. Good luck. Because what I don't want with one-on-one matchmaking is just the stress of attraction, and
Oh
it can
yeah.
grow. That's the thing is, so many of my clients, I beg them to give people a chance. I'm like, they're not a hell no, so please. And then sure enough, third, fourth date, they are wildly attracted to the person. So I don't want the stress of attraction. I don't want to deal with that. So that's why, like, I mean, if this does take off on this platform, then, I would love to do group matchmaking, but we'll see.
We'll see. With the dating blueprint too, the assessments are things most people are familiar with. Do you want to share a couple of the assessments that go into it?
Yeah, I mean, well, we talked about the 5 love languages,
Yeah.
but like, that's the thing that I think being a couples therapist, it's really about the application of the results. So, even, this was probably, like, 10 years ago, I was doing, a workshop on the dating blueprint. So I had, people in my office, come in and I would do like a 3-hour presentation on it.
Mm,
And so the 5 love languages is on there. And I'd say, so how many of you have heard of the 5 love languages? All hands go up. And
yeah.
then how many of you use the 5 love languages in dating? No hand went up. And I'm like, why would you not?
Why
And
would you take the assessment if you didn't
yeah,
wanna?
but here's the thing is, so there's some contention about the legitimacy of the 5 love languages, which I actually talked to my therapy staff about, where I kind of want to go back through the research and see, like, do these researchers actually account for like avoidantly attached people? Because like if you eliminate avoidantly attached people, I wonder what the results would be. Because in my mind, like when my couples come in and they tell me they're disconnected, well, guess what? They either have opposite love languages or they stopped, showing love in the way that their partner needed it. And
Yes.
then there was like, I mean, we talked about resentment, but like the to not feel loved and cared for in the way that you want, or that it was there but then the person stopped for like whatever reason, can be so painful. And a divorce attorney will tell you that the number one reason that couples divorce is money, but that is absolutely not even top 3 for me. Disconnection is truly the number one thing that brings couples to me, or even individuals who are considering divorce. And I'm not saying the love languages is, the end all be all, but it is about developing that mindset that if someone is like has a different love language than you, it's not necessarily an automatic deal breaker, but please be willing to develop the mindset to meet that person's love language. Because I think I even had a client, she came to one of my events, did the blueprint, and then started dating a guy. And she found like doing calls. He's like, I'm not a phone
Mm.
guy, but she goes, well, but when we're not together, that to me is quality time. And he was started calling her. It wasn't something that he wanted
Oh,
to.
he's a better person than me.
I was gonna
That's
say,
like a
like, not suburbs. You have to go to the suburbs.
like, I would, oh, man, would I rather talk on the phone every day or go to the suburbs once a month?
Yeah, but the
That's
other
like Sophie's Choice.
right, but the other thing is, I also can't remember like where I first heard this, but like that phrase, choose your heart, right? It's like, do you want to like learn how to meet someone's love language, or is the heart constantly going on dates, hoping that someone is completely aligned with everything that you're looking for, which I will tell you is unrealistic. It is impossible. And that's why it's not a numbers game, because you would just constantly have to be dating because you're never going to find that person. But it's like, what are you willing to do? Or what kind of a partner are you willing to be as well in order to make the relationship work? But the practical application of love languages, and like to some, it could be a deal breaker. Like, you know, whether it's, well, this person's too busy for me and quality time is my top love language. They're like, this is just not a good fit. Um,
Yeah.
so another thing is, like people generally don't change. I mean, they could make behavior modifications. That's why, like, even with the love languages, they might not do anything for them, but are they willing to do it for you? But people waste their time thinking things will be different after marriage, and it's not.
I
You know,
don't know why anyone would ever think that. I always thought that was crazy. Like, you think marriage is gonna fix your problems? You think having a kid's gonna fix your problems? Like, who thinks like that?
right?
It drives me crazy. That drives me crazy.
Well, I think hope. I mean, people also make like their self-worth about whether or not someone else will
Yeah.
change. So they're hoping, well, they'll change, and that means that I'm worthy. They kind of just hold on to that, which, yes, I agree, it's a terrible way to date or to get married. And it usually bites people in the ass, you know?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I think the best thing for everyone who's dating or in a relationship is to just like be realistic with yourself about obviously like your expectations, but more realistically, how do you communicate that? So you can have honest conversations about it. Because I could be wrong. I think a lot of problems in relationships, the core issue is communication.
That's
Like it sounds stupid to say, but like,
no, it's not. 100% of our couples come in citing communication as a problem.
yeah,
But it's not that. I mean, I have a kind of a sad story. So I've been working with this client for about a year and a half, and she, you know, just was not really going for nice guys. And finally, she met someone that we thought was nice. Um, but going to your communication point, y- you could really waste a lot of time if you don't speak up. And,
mhm,
we did the blueprint and it was really obvious. I'm not saying that she and her boyfriend were opposites, but they were pretty different. And it was like every session she would start the session, Anita, like, man, we're just so different. We're so different. And I was like begging her to have these conversations with him. But because of her anxiety, she didn't, and I can't rush the process. And he would just ignore the differences too, because he would tell her how perfect she was. And I told her, I'm like, that makes me nervous because we both know
yeah,
you're not perfect.
yeah,
But it makes me nervous that he was not bringing up or really acknowledging the reality of some of these differences. And been a year and a half, and she told me like 2 weeks ago that he was like, I'm having a lot of doubts about our relationship. And I'm like, why didn't you talk to him about the stuff that I was telling you
a
to talk?
year ago. Jeez,
You
that's so
know,
sad.
I know.
Because like that could have saved them a year, or they could have worked some of it out. Like
Exactly.
either way, it's a better outcome.
Yes, yes, and that's the thing is like, I tell people like my job, I'm like pro relationship because to me, like I mean the amount of time I have spent to be able to call myself an expert, like not just with clients, but I mean, continuing education, I'm constantly reading, looking
Oh
at
yeah,
resources for my clients, even like not even just like therapists or people in our field, but I really love learning from other industries because I feel like, I could help clients in that way too. And so, like, I spend so much time on, you know, education. And so to
yeah.
me, I don't expect people to have the knowledge that I have. So that's why, like, I spend a lot of my time teaching clients. And so, like, I'm pro relationship. Like, I err on the side of let's try to make this work. So then you could walk away with no regrets. And so,
Mm.
I mean, I couldn't force her to, I would give her skills. I would give her handouts. I would teach her, what to do. But her anxiety, I mean, she was just too anxious. But yeah, I mean, they could have saved themselves a lot of pain.
Yeah. I think just being open and honest and respectful is it's going to lead to a way better outcome
Yeah.
than being avoidant, ignoring, or building resentment. Like it's just, this is one thing that I'm not perfect, but I'm pretty, well, I'm pretty direct.
Yeah.
I can be, I would even argue harsh at times, and not in like a hurtful, mean way,
Hmm.
but just in a, this is not working for me because of this. And it can come across as jarring to someone who's not used to having someone be direct, right? So I don't want to go to the suburbs.
Right.
That's how I say it. I don't want to go to the suburbs this Saturday.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like that can be jarring, but like I'm being direct.
Right.
And I'd rather learn how to like have that direct conversation or something, but have it out there than go to the suburbs for a year and then finally snap the next 12th time. Do you know what I mean? Like,
No, 100%. But okay, so like a little couples stuff. So if you were with some or like someone naturally compatible to you would also be direct like you, right? So that would be your ideal. But let's say again, I don't know, like if Carrie would be super sensitive and she's like, you're so mean. Like, why do you have to be so mean? But like, then I would tell you, "Can you just soften it a little bit,
Yeah.
Nick?
I
You
try to
can still
soften
be
it.
direct a little, like, just throw in a babe there." You
Well,
know?
now she prefaces anytime it comes up with, "I know you don't wanna go to the suburbs, but"
Yeah.
but
Like, yeah,
but
but
no, I yeah, but my point there is, like, I think it's better to be honest with your communication,
that's
even if you're and, I'm very direct and to the point, like, she's direct, like, I think I know mostly, but, she's a little more of a roundabout way to get to it sometimes. But I think that that communication that you have with your partner or your husband or your wife, that communication needs to be open even when it's difficult because it's always going to lead to a better outcome than not having it. Like
right,
if your client decides that she wants to have that divorce with her husband who's in the basement,
right,
it would be better for her to, like, in my opinion, to be direct with him about where she is than to surprise him with a divorce or wait 2 years when she's even more resentful and angry.
yeah, and the other and I said this to her this morning, I go, "Do you even if you were to get a divorce and you find someone else, do you think you're magically going to just communicate with him?"
Really good point.
Because from her perspective, it's not like her husband's blowing up at her and like they don't have any positivity. But I said, you're making assumptions with him that if you were to divorce and date someone else, you'd be making assumptions about the next guy too. And she started laughing because she knows I was right.
Yeah. Exactly,
But that's the
exactly.
thing is, that's the education piece is um like, I mean, there are some people that they do avoid conflict. And again, as long as you're matched in that style, you might be okay. But from my perspective as a couples therapist, it's like the worst that that two people could be is like avoiding conflict because those marriages, whether I work with the individual or the couple, it's one of those like death by a thousand cuts marriages where, so much gets unspoken, unaddressed, not
Mhm.
fixed. And then that's where like the disconnection sets in. Then there might be like infidelity, ships
Yeah.
passing in the night. There's nothing there. That friendship has died. The positivity has died. Where a little bit of that fire is actually, in my opinion, better. You just got to make sure that you're not escalating, right? Not getting into fight or flight. So, like, still being able to manage your emotions, but being direct. But, like, sometimes I have to model for my clients. You could still be direct, but you could be gentle. Like, no one's saying
Mhm.
you have to be a jerk, right? But there are ways of bringing things up to make sure that the other person isn't getting defensive.
Yeah. I yeah, I agree completely. I'm trying to be more gentle in my directness because sometimes I'm like, is there something wrong with me that I just, like, say these things this way?" Like, it's definitely a different so being direct, but also a different skill in the delivery, right? So,
Well, your blueprint reflects that, right?
yeah.
So, I mean, you've got the emotional side, which I told you like I picked up after you did the blueprint. I was like you're using those buzzwords of like intuitive gut cuz like I think we talked about you when you bought your condo, you're like my gut
Oh,
just
yeah.
told me. I mean, I'm the same way like I could feel things but then you're also like logical and your communication style is one where you're not going to hold back, but again, you're not going to be constantly exploding,
Yeah.
when you have a point to make. So it totally makes sense.
Well, it depends on the topic, but
Yeah,
yeah.
we've all got those. We all
Yeah.
get triggers.
Yeah. My new favorite thing that has started to annoy me is when, like, reality TV comes up in a conversation
Hmm.
and someone is, like, arguing with me about how it is and they've never been on a show, never I'm like, I don't have a lot of patience for that. I don't know what has gotten but people are
That's so weird.
be it's weird because I think it's because people it's this whole the whole parasocial relationship people have with reality TV now. Like they think they're a part of it because of like
Mm,
you see a show and then there's the commentators and then there's the podcast and then there's the TikTokers and the YouTubers and everybody's got an opinion and it's like regular people and there's so much behind the scenes stuff that's come out. A lot of people think they're a part of it. And it's like I'm actually a part of it.
yeah,
So yeah, it's weird, but like that's something lately. Not that I'm not open to discussing and being questioned, but when someone's like telling me what it is and what it isn't,
that's
I
so
don't think you're an authority on it. Is weird. It
yeah.
is weird.
Mm,
So, but anyway, this has been really good. And as you know, I appreciate the work you're doing. I know that it's not always easy and you kind of um you give a lot of your time to stuff that doesn't make a lot of money, and we both do that. What I really like about you, and I know it's gonna come across, but when we first met, even the first time I reached out to you, and we talked,
mhm.
you have a genuine authenticity and desire to, like, help people with love, and it isn't just online personality or whatever. Like this is a conversation you and I would have at a party last week or walking down the street, which maybe we'll still be doing in a little bit here, but it's very admirable that you actually have this, deep rooted desire to help people with love. So thank you for that.
Yeah, thank
And
you.
tell people where they can find you on social media, connect with you online, and of course, get the blueprint. And I will put all of those links down below.
Yeah, I mean, I have the Unlove Experiences on Instagram, and that's the website. And then on Instagram, I also have Anita Unlove. So I do more couple stuff with the Anita on Love. Although with the dating blueprint, I have been focusing a little bit more on the on love experiences, and trying to get some more advice out there for singles. And then if anyone needs therapy and they're in Illinois, I also have a staff that can help. And we just specialize in romantic relationships. And that is relationship reality 312.com is the website.
Very good. Well, thanks again, Anita, for joining me. Always fun. Here we are. Thanks again to you for joining the show. And to everyone else, I'm Nick Thompson. Keep your eyes wide open. Thank you for joining us on this week's episode of Eyes Wide Open. If you enjoy the show, the best way to support us is by sharing or dropping a review. For more information and content, check out engagewithnick.com or find me on Instagram at nthompson513. Don't go through life blind. Do the work so you can show up in the world with your eyes wide open.